Donald Trump just got elected as the new president of the United States. And on today's episode, I'm going to give you the major tax updates that you need to learn if you want to win the tax game when Trump is in office. So make sure you stay to the end because I'm going to talk about how we could completely eliminate taxes as a country in his updated tax proposal. All that plus more on today's episode. So welcome back to another episode of Tax-Free Living, where I teach entrepreneurs just like you how to live tax-free. And today might be one of the most important episodes I've created all year, because today's episode is going to talk about what the tax situation could look like for America over the next 4 years. Tax change number one, Donald Trump wants to decrease the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15% for corporations that keep their manufacturing in the United States. This could be major for a lot of corporations, because if I was paying 21% corporate tax rate, but it means that I get to pay 15% if I move my production from overseas to America, that's going to entice a lot of big corporations to move their manufacturing stateside. Once they move their manufacturing stateside, this can create a lot more jobs for Americans. And as we know, in today's current economy, the unemployment job market is at all-time highs. So having these corporations bring their manufacturing stateside could create tens of thousands of more jobs, therefore boosting the American economy. Now, for corporations, this could be major, because if you lower my tax rate from 21% down to 15%, that's a 6% decrease in corporate tax rate. If I'm a $10 million business, I just saved $600,000 per year by this new corporate tax rate change. And now that I have an extra $600,000 in cash in my business, this is going to allow me to do what? Hire more people, which could therefore further stimulate the job market in the U.S. economy. So this tax change by Donald Trump, I personally am a fan of, because I think when corporate tax rates drop, that gives companies more cash on hand to reinvest into their business and therefore hire more people, which helps the consumer, which is what this whole plan is geared to do. So tax change number two. Donald Trump is proposing to make automobile loan interest tax deductible for every single American with an auto loan. So let me talk about how big this is. So right now we understand that small business owners that purchase a vehicle for their business, their automobile loan interest is 100% tax deductible. This causes a lot more businesses to go purchase more vehicles, because they understand that the interest they pay on those vehicle loans is going to help lower their tax bill. With Trump's new change, he's proposing that whether you have a business or not, every American, whether it's a personal vehicle or a business vehicle, will now be able to write off 100% of their automobile loan interest. There are over 100 million Americans today currently that have outstanding auto loans, which means that most Americans are paying thousands of dollars per year in interest that they currently can't deduct. If this tax change is passed, they will be able to deduct that loan interest, therefore lowering their taxable income. So for example, if you're an American and you're a W-2 worker earning $100,000 a year, but you're paying $4,000 in automobile interest throughout the year, that means your taxable income goes from $100,000 down to $96,000. So not only could it help you save on taxes, it could also put you into a lower tax bracket, therefore further lowering your overall taxes paid. So this tax change will be huge, in my opinion. And what it will also do is it will boost the economy when it comes to automobile purchases, and therefore, one, increasing stock prices of automobile companies, but two, keeping the consumer spending going, which, as we know, as long as consumers continue to cycle through money, then that helps stimulate our overall economy. Tax change number three. Donald Trump wants to eliminate taxes on overtime pay. Now, how could this affect you at home? Well, number one, if you're working overtime, that overtime wage, because you're making more money, it is usually taxed at higher rates, therefore causing you to work more and keep less. Like, in what world does that make sense? So by eliminating taxes on overtime workers, all the money that you make working overtime will be 100% yours. And how it helps business owners like me is most people that want to work overtime, they want to receive time and a half, right? They want to receive time and a half, so I have to pay them their base salary plus extra 50%. But now that taxes are going to be removed from overtime pay, business owners could potentially see workers be willing to work overtime for not having to pay time and a half. So you might be able to pay your workers normal wages or something slightly above normal because they get to keep 100% of the money. So it can help a lot of small business owners keep their workforce high and get their employees to work harder without having to pay them drastically more money. Tax change number 4. Donald Trump wants to eliminate taxes on Social Security benefits. Now, if there's one change that I'm the biggest fan of, it has to be this one. Because for the life of me, guys, I couldn't understand how Social Security benefits were even taxed in the first place. Think about this. When we make money in our working years, we have to pay into Social Security. Social Security is supposed to be guaranteed. But as we know, slated today, Social Security is supposed to be eliminated by 2035, but that's a conversation for another day. But regardless, we make money, we pay into Social Security off money we already made. And then you mean to tell me once I do receive my Social Security benefits, you're gonna tax me again on the money that you took from me in the first place? This is absolutely insane. And like for the life of me, I couldn't understand how it was even a tax law in the first place. But now Donald Trump wants to rescind that. And I think this can help millions of Americans who are in retirement or nearing retirement receive more money via Social Security that they already pay into the system in the first place. Like I said before, this is probably one of the tax changes I'm the biggest fan of, and I hope this one gets passed. Tax change number 5. So Donald Trump wants to eliminate the double taxation on American workers that work overseas. So let me explain. Currently, if you have American citizenship and you're working in another country for 6 months or longer, you have to pay taxes in that country, and then you have to pay taxes in America as well. Now, we do have the foreign income tax credit that should eliminate most of the double taxes, but not all of them. And as a person that lived in another country for 2 years, this was one of the most frustrating things that one of the few countries that have this requirement. So when I was living in Medellin for 2 years and I was American citizenship, I have to deal with playing with the foreign income tax credit to make sure I'm not paying double taxes in America and Colombia. So this elimination will cause a lot of workers that want to work overseas to have a more simplified tax system, because we should not be penalized for wanting to travel the world, make money in a digital era, make money in our online businesses from a different country, and have to deal with the potentiality of paying double taxation. So again, this tax change is something I will be a 100% fan of, and all of my digital nomads out there that want to work overseas, because if you earned the luxury by building a business online, you won't have to be penalized for this either. Tax change number 6. Donald Trump in his new proposal wants to eliminate taxes on tips for all Americans. So if you're a bartender, if you're a taxi driver, if you work at a restaurant, you make most of your money via tips. That means that every dollar that you make from tips will be 100% sheltered from taxes. So think about this for a second. If I'm a bartender and my base salary is $6 an hour, but I make $100,000 off tips, that means that 70 to 80% of my income will be completely tax-free. This is going to be huge for anybody that has majority of their income being compensated from tips. And I have no moral qualms with this, because the overall point of a new tax act or a tax stimulus is to keep more money in Americans' pockets. And although I don't work for tips, I don't have any problem with people that do work for tips being able to keep more of their money. When this was announced, a lot of Americans that didn't work for tips were upset because it didn't apply to them. And my thing is, just because something doesn't directly benefit you doesn't mean that you have to be a opponent of that tax change because you don't directly benefit. But you might benefit because if more Americans are keeping more of their money, they're more likely to have more money to spend. And if you're a small business owner, that means they have a chance of spending it with you. So just because a tax change doesn't directly affect you, let's not be a hater, guys. Let's not be a hater, okay? So I hope that makes sense. And last but not least, tax change number 7, which is potentially the biggest tax change of them all. Donald Trump wants to completely eliminate the income tax system and replace them with tariffs. So let me break this down. The reason he wants to do this is because he wants to incentivize corporations to bring all of their manufacturing stateside, which again will increase the amount of jobs in America, and it will cause the corporations that if they want to continue having their suppliers or manufacturers be overseas, they're going to have to pay the tariffs, and the government is going to receive that money instead of taxes. Let me explain how this will affect you. Okay, because a lot of people are fans of this, and you can be a fan of it if you want to, but I need you to understand how it will affect you. Let's say I sell t-shirts, and I import my supplies from our t-shirts from overseas. Cool. It costs $100 for me to get my inventory from overseas to America. If Donald Trump imposed a 20% tariff on imports, that means that it's going to go from costing me $100 to $120 to receive these same goods or services. If my inventory per shirt increases by $20, do you all think that I'm going to sell my shirt for the same price? Or do you think I'm going to have to increase my prices of my t-shirts to keep my same profit margins? The latter, right? So if it now costs me $120, I might have been selling the shirt for $150, which means my profit went from 50 down to 30. I don't want my profits to decrease. So now my shirt is going to go from 150 to 170, which is going to cause you to pay an extra $20. And that's just for t-shirts. But what if it's the same for fruits, vegetables, food, clothing? Everything that comes from overseas will have this increase in tariff tax, which the person that's selling you the good is not going to eat the cost. They're going to increase their prices, which is going to come down on you. So if this was to happen, yeah, we might not pay taxes anymore, but that same money that we were paying taxes will be used to pay for the increase of the cost of the goods that we want to buy. So this would dramatically heighten inflation in a time where inflation is already at all-time highs. So we're seeing the highest inflation we've seen in the last 50 years. And you mean to tell me that we're going to impose a 20% tariff, which is going to increase the price of goods and sold everywhere? Personally, I'm not a fan of this, right? Because I think that the benefit of the tax system is this. It takes the money out of America's pocket before they get a chance to spend. So if we don't do that and we just increase the price of everything, people are going to think they have more money than they have, and they're going to end up spending more money, and they're going to end up having more month at the end of the money, and they probably won't be able to pay their bills the same way, because if you pay your bill first and pay yourself last, you tend to have more money. But if you spend the money first and then look at the end of the month and you don't have as much money as you thought, I feel like it could give Americans a false sense of entitlement and a false sense of income. So those are the 7 strategies, the 7 tax changes that Donald Trump wants to implement while he's in office. Comment below. Let me know which ones you're a fan of, and let me know which ones you are not a fan of. And I'll see you all in the next episode.